We are here with multiple-time boxing champion Jajaira Gonzalez. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. So yeah, I mean, boxing, super interesting sport. It's a sport that I've gotten a lot more interested recently. I want to start just, from the beginning. You began boxing at a young age, around 8. So when did you really start loving the sport? Was it right when you first started?
No, I actually hated boxing when I first started. I remember like doing whatever I could as a young 8-year-old girl just to try to get out of going to the gym. Like I would pretend to be sick. I would try to get sick. Like I remember after my showers, like I would blast the AC and stand in front of it and hoping that I would get sick so that I wouldn't go to the gym. Or I'd be like, oh, I have a lot of homework or my stomach hurts. And my dad, sometimes he would let it slide, but most of the time, like he knew what I was doing. But I didn't really start loving the sport till I started to compete more. I was probably like 10 or 11 years old. Not a lot of girls were fighting, so we would go to like shows and there would never be any girls for me to fight. So I was just like, what am I training for? But once I started to get more competition and I was like dominating, I was getting TKOs and it was like easy for me. It was something that just was like natural. That's when I really just started to love the sport.
Okay. So initially it was something your dad was like, I want you to do boxing.
Yes.
Okay. That's
Never
fair.
bad. Yep.
And your dad's your coach, right?
Yes.
How important is like having your dad as your coach and that family support just, ingrained in your boxing journey?
I think it's super important to have having my father as my coach because I just feel like, when I travel with Team USA, I have my coaches that are like, that's their job. They're the Team USA coaches. I like that too because I feel like everybody sees things that maybe my father's not seeing that I can improve on, But I just think having my dad as my coach is such a blessing because I don't feel like anybody's going to push me as hard as my dad has. It's like sometimes a coach is like, oh, they don't want to get in trouble or whatever. But my dad, it's like, I'm your dad. Like, who gone?
Yeah, he'll keep it real for sure.
But not even having that family support too. I feel like it's very important because this sport is very mental. Um, Things have happened where like I kind of used to be all like, oh, family, 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 but now I'm just more like me type of deal.
Do you remember like when they added women's boxing to the Olympics in 2012? Like, how did you feel during that time?
Yes, for sure. When boxing for women got added in 2012, I just remember seeing, and I didn't know until I started seeing like the commercials. And I remember specifically seeing 2012 Olympic bronze medalist Marlena Esparza on like the McDonald's commercial, the CoverGirl commercials, and I was just like, I want to be like that. Not necessarily like as a fighter, but I just was like, I want to go to the Olympics. Especially being bilingual, being Mexican, I kind of was like, yeah, like that's going to be me. So that definitely was my new goal. And I don't really remember having a goal before that. It was just, being number one in the US and just winning every tournament that I went to. But then I started to travel and stuff like that, and all that stuff with the Olympics and women happened, and I was all in.
I want to talk more now specifically about your career. 2015 Olympic trials. You've said your loss there was heavily influenced by politics of the sport. Can you talk us a little more through that and kind of what you mean by that?
Yeah, so 2015, I was the youngest one in the 132-pound weight class. I was just coming up from youth. So I was 18 at that time because I was in October 2015. And then, I turned 19, but I was like eligible to be competing in the elites 19 and up because of my birthday. Because during that time, it was like double elimination. So if you lose, you go into like the losers bracket is what they call it. So whoever lost that day too, like the two losers fight each other. And then you got to work your way back up to the winners bracket. That was my second fight of the tournament and I lost. And I didn't feel like I lost. I was so confident. everyone was kind of just in shock. I lost on the split decision, so it was like a close fight is what that means, a split decision. And I just remember, like, if I would have won, I would have got like a little break in between, but I had lost. So now like I have to fight every day until the finals. And I just remember like just being really mad, and I was like jumping rope because I had to make weight the next day. And people were coming up to me while I was jumping rope like, oh, that was BS, like you won that fight. And I was just like, thank you, like we gonna get her, like, because I just remember thinking like Floyd Mayweather lost and then he came back and won, and then he went to the Olympics and stuff like that. So I was just thinking like, I'm about to be like Floyd, like I'm about to make this comeback into this tournament. So I fought my way back to the top. We meet again, what was supposed to be the final, at a different location than we were originally, because it was like the final, right? Completely dominated, and I won unanimously. They had me, they drug tested me and my opponent, but I was having a hard time using the bathroom. So I was just downing bottles of water, trying to like get myself to use the restroom so I can give them their sample. I left out of there super late. Now I have to lose all this water weight, right? So I'm running, I'm in the bathtub, like trying to soak off the last few ounces. I had to wake up and run again. And then it was like a very short time that I had to cut or had to like rest up until my fight. But since we're 1-1, they had to extend the tournament for us. So a lot of people were gone at this point, because they had their flights. A lot of officials were gone. Some officials had to change their flights so that they can stay and judge this last fight. And I felt like I fought her the same exact way, and I lost on the split decision. And I was kind of just like in disbelief after it. And I just remember like pacing back and forth, and I was just thinking like, did I really lose? But then people were coming up to me and they were like, yo, you won that fight. And then our 2-time Olympic gold medalist, who I'm like super close to, she's actually good friends with both of us. She came up to me and she was like choking up on her words, and she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm trying to be strong because I don't want you to feel a certain way. She's like, but that was so unfair. Like, you deserve to win that fight. Still in disbelief, more people coming up to me. And it wasn't until my dad came up to me. He didn't say nothing. He just hugged me. And that's when I started crying. And I was just like, nah, I don't think I lost that fight. My dad, he didn't have to say anything. I know what he was thinking. He was thinking the same thing. But after that, like, it did kind of change my perspective on boxing, where I just kind of was like, this sport is so political. Like, but I don't know, maybe I need to watch the fight again to see if I did, but there's like no footage on it. We weren't allowed to like record it, which was weird too, because the men's Olympic trials, those were on ESPN.
So do you think that a big part of the bias was just that you were young and maybe they just wanted an older person to win it?
I think that too. Sometimes I think maybe they wanted me to get more like experience, but I don't know. I can't tell you why that happened. It was crazy to me.
How do you view it, like boxing as just kind of, there's a lot of subjectivity in the sport compared to other sports, like especially when it comes to a split decision. Is that a tough thing for a lot of boxers? Like, I know you said, it's changed your perspective on it. So are you just more okay now with just, okay, I lost, split decision, I think I should have won, it was BS, I move on? Like, is that kind of how you approach it now, if you feel like you won?
No, I would still be upset and like still turn up, and I'd be like, that was BS. But I am in a mindset now, because mind you, I was 18 when I took that loss, and it did change my mindset, because I felt like I was doing everything. I wasn't hanging out with friends. I wasn't going to the movies, going bowling. I wasn't really like enjoying my life outside of boxing, because it was just strictly boxing. Like, I need to be 1,000%. To where now I'm just like, I have to have a balance. Now I'm like enjoying my life and stuff, because like I said, anything can happen, and I don't want to miss out on life when I can train just as hard and enjoying my life. But for sure, with the whole political thing, I just look at it too, like, I can't leave a close fight. Like, I have to make sure that I'm in there dominating. Like, yeah, I think it changed my mindset for the better, to be honest.
And then a couple years after, more recently, you kind of took a break from the sport. Is that something that was kind of related to what you just talked about? Kind of you were just a little fed up with how things were going, you just needed some time off, or what was kind of the reasoning behind the break?
I think the main reason really was I just was not in that headspace. And I did kind of lose a bit of love for boxing after that incident, but I didn't take that break until like the ending of 2018. But in those 2 years, I was already kind of like whatever about boxing. But I was also going through like a lot of family issues at the time. And I was in a relationship at the time as well that was like super toxic. And boxing is very mental. So that was affecting my mental as well, on top of my family issues. And I didn't really care about anything. It was just a really bad stage of my life where I was just, I was like quick to pop off. Like I was angry all the time. And that was because everything outside of boxing that was going on. So when I was in the gym, like I was not focused. And I took a loss to a girl that I TKO'd 3 times before. Like we had fought 3 times prior to that fight. TKO'd her. And then I lost on a split decision. And I was just like, I was playing with myself. Like I was playing with this because I trained for that tournament, a national tournament, for like not even 2 weeks. And I guess I did get like a little cocky, a little big-headed, to where I was like, ain't nobody gonna beat me. Like, do I really need to be working out? No. It's true what they say, like hard work beats talent. If talent just doesn't work hard work always gonna get you there. And I definitely was not working hard for that national tournament.
Well, you're back now, and we got, Team USA in the Olympics. Are you excited? How are things going with that?
I'm super excited. Things are going really well. I go back to camp June 5th, and then I'll see my dad 7th to the 10th. He's coming to Colorado, but besides that, like I won't see my family until after the Olympics. So I'll be home August 12th, I believe. It's gonna be a long one, but it's gonna be a good one because I'm just super excited. I'm super focused. I feel like God gave me a second, third chance, and not a lot of people get that. So I'm definitely taking full advantage of the fact that I'm here.
What's the energy been like in the training center? And you got your teammates, and you've called yourself kind of like a mama bear to your teammates. How's that dynamic been with them? And just how are the vibes been?
Yeah, me and my team, we get along really well, which is what I love. And I feel like a lot of other teams that we meet, they'll tell us like, oh, like all y'all seem so close. They be beefing with their teammates sometimes. And sometimes we do get like on each other's nerves, but I'm mostly close to Joshua Edwards. He is our heavyweight on the team. He's also qualified. Morel McCain, she's our welterweight on the team, also qualified. And Jennifer Lozano, she's our 50 kilo, also qualified. We're always together. Mo and Jen are like my sisters. It makes being away from home and being there in the training center, what sometimes we call it like a prison, it makes it so much easier. And just even training too, I think just being around that is someone that's like just as hungry as you, people that are just as hungry as you, like it definitely pushes you to work harder. So we're always pushing ourselves, and we'd be having fun. We'd be having fun with it too.
And I know y'all were joined by Jake Paul, I saw in the gym. Well, what was that like?
That was to me at first, like I didn't really know. I knew of Jake Paul, but I didn't really know how I felt about him. Like when he first came into boxing, I was kind of just like, this is not a joke. Like this sport is not a joke. But then I started to see what he was doing for women in the sport, and like he got my full respect. I was just like, that's dope. And then when we joined with him, teamed up with him for him to help us get more exposure and help us really just get more support, I guess, from the people, because boxing in the Olympics doesn't really get that much attention like other sports like gymnastics, and like basketball and swimmers and stuff. So I think that was really cool that he did that. And he was training with us, and I was like, okay, like he doesn't play with the sport. Like he actually works hard. But it was really cool. It was cool to experience that because he's so like down to earth, and it was just cool peoples.
Wow, that's good to hear, because I know a lot of people think Jake Paul is kind of a kind of a, an asshole sometimes. But.
No, he was super sweet, super respectful, him and his team, and always looking out. Like even now, we have a group chat. So he'll like text us, his team will text us like, hey, if you guys need anything, let us know. We'll hop on like Zoom calls and just like catch up with like our training and stuff. And I think that's dope because you look at past Olympians that boxed for USA Boxing and they're pro now, and like, where are they? And you have someone like Jake Paul, and he's here supporting and just trying to do the most for us too. Like, I just think that's something that you have to respect.
I said I've gotten more into boxing. It's been partly because of him. I've watched, when he started coming onto the scene, then I started watching a lot more, and I've become quickly a fan. So yeah, he's doing a lot of things, not just for women boxing, but for just the whole sport. I mean, he really elevated the views. Speaking of women in boxing, this whole year, past couple of years has been really big for like women's sports. And that's gotten a lot more attention and a lot more eyes on it. Thinking back to when you said when you were a young girl, it was hard to find opponents. Do you think now, if you were at that age, it would be a lot easier? Like, do you see in the sport like a visible, tangible, like more interest and a lot more girls wanting to fight?
Yes, for sure. I see a lot of little girls that they're in the gym. I'll go to like boxing gyms now and I'll see people posting, and they'll have like an all-girl sparring type of thing. Like one gym will host it and just girls from other gyms will come to that one gym and they'll spar, and I just see a whole bunch of little girls, and it's amazing to see, because I'm just like, okay, like, the women in the sport now and the pros and, us even being Olympians, I feel like we help influence that. And I want to be that person that, they can kind of look up to and be like, I want to be like her, even if I can give them like advice, because like I said, growing up, I didn't have a female boxer that I can look up to. It was always, the male boxers, just being a girl, and girls can look up to you, and, girls go through different obstacles outside of, what men go through. So I just think, I think it's super cool.
What piece of advice would you give to a young female boxer?
My advice to a young female boxer is to really put yourself first. Put yourself first, love yourself first, and work hard. Ignore all the noise on the outside, because you're gonna hear like, oh, she's a girl, she can't fight. And, sometimes people could take that a certain way to where they are like, yeah, I don't want to do this. Like, nobody believes in me type of thing. But not even that too, like in a relationship standpoint, put yourself first. Yeah, don't do that, because I feel like that's what messed me up, where I was putting other things before my career, before my training, before myself, and it made me kind of fall off. But just stay focused. Do what you got to do. Do it for you.
Before we finish off with some like rapid fire questions, I want to ask a little bit about your future goals. I know you mentioned wanting to maybe go pro eventually versus, staying amateur. In this point in your career, what are you reaching for? What's the end goal?
My end goal is really just making sure like I'm financially stable and I made my mark in the sport as, one of the greats. But just being financially stable for me, for my family. I want to retire my parents. I don't want them to have to work another day in their life. And I really just want to inspire like the younger generations coming up. So I might start my own promotion company. I might open a gym, start coaching. I don't know. It's a lot of things I feel like I could do once I get my gold medal.
Do you have like the best piece of advice that you've been given in your career?
I believe probably something that I always say is to control the controllables. Control what you can, F what you can't. The only thing I could really control in my career is how I'm training. That's something I can, if I want to run, be lazy and run 1 mile. If I want to work hard and I'll run 2, 3, 4, like really just control what I can when I'm in the fight. Control what I can. Things are going to happen. Why am I worried about the stuff that I can't control? Let me fix and worry about the things that I can control. And I really think that changed my mindset on a lot of things too.
I want to ask just a couple more like shorter questions, just could be a couple sentences. After boxing matches, how do you come down? Do you have like a ritual after your match?
I don't. I usually just pray before and I pray after.
Do you have a favorite way to spend a rest day?
I like to take naps. I like to just be chilling in my bed with my dog. I like to read. Really just, if I go bowling or go to Topgolf, go watch a movie. I like my days to be like chill.
To end a quick like this or that, I'm going to say two things. You tell me which of the two things you prefer. All right. Jake Paul or Logan Paul? I think I know the answer.
Jake Paul.
Okay. Colorado or California?
California.
Split decision win, sweat it out, or unanimous decision win?
Unanimous.
Home gym or training camp?
Ooh, that's a good one. Home gym.
Training in the morning or evening?
Morning.
And then lastly, what is your favorite one of your quotes? I'm doing this shit for me, or F around and find out?
F around and find out.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. I hope you crush at the Olympics. I'm sure you will. I'll be watching along with a lot of people. So definitely wish you best of luck in your journey. Everybody, Jajaira Gonzalez, great boxer, and it's going to do great things in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate y'all.